good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to FSU Coach Live. My name is Tim Baghurst, and I'm joined this afternoon by Coak Matthews. He is the head swimming and diving coach at Henderson State University, somebody I knew many years ago as I was a former employee there at Henderson State. So, Coak, thank you for joining me. If you wouldn't mind, just give us a little bit of an overview of your coaching career.
It doesn't seem that long, but I've been, and it doesn't seem like that long since you left here. It really wasn't that long, many years ago. I guess about 8, but this is the end of my 38th year here at Henderson. I started out as an age group coach in Houston at my old club team when I graduated from the University of Arkansas in December of 1977. Club coach there, and at a different club we actually lost our facility, and then a group of parents had living in a certain subdivision about 20 minutes away, they built a pool. We moved out there, started a new club, and we were there for 4 years. And then the owner of that developer of that subdivision decided he didn't want a team there anymore, didn't want that. We had a high school team, a club team. It was going really well, and he decided just to pull the plug on it. It was going really well. The high school team was doing well, club team was doing well. We were competing all over the country, and he just said, "Okay, that's enough." And so then I started looking for jobs and ended up with 3 offers. I won't go into details, but one was in Austin, Texas, with Eddie Reese at the University of Texas, GA and a club coach there. Texas A&M with Mel Nash. There would have been one of his, actually a volunteer assistant, but head age group coach. And then there was Henderson State University, a little small school in Arkansas that I didn't even know existed. But Sam Freeze, who's an icon in the world of swimming coaches and great, one of the world-renowned sprint coaches, he called me and said, "Hey, you need to check this out." He said it's a diamond in the rough. He said you need to go. Gave me the contact information, Mickey O'Quinn, and I called him. We set up a time to visit, and I came out here and just kind of fell in love with the place, and ended up with 4 part-time jobs. I was the part-time at the college, part-time at the high school, part-time age group coach, and part-time city pool manager. And that was in 1982. Moved here in October of 1982, and planned on having a few good years here, and then jumping on to bigger and better things, and kind of liked it here. Met my wife here and got settled into the community and into the school, and had a couple other job offers over the years, but it was like, I like it.
What made you decide to come to somewhere like Henderson, which I'm sure a lot of people won't know Henderson State, but it's in a small town in rural Arkansas. When you come somewhere like there, but you have offers to go to major schools, maybe not as a head coach, but certainly puts you on the platform for training to, be one of those head coaches one day at a big school. What was the rationale for going to a smaller school like Henderson?
Yeah, it was a pretty tough decision, but all in all, there was kind of a gut feeling, really, that I felt like I had a lot of recruiting contacts that I could make for kids that would be good NAI Division II, Division III type swimmers that wouldn't get the opportunity to swim Division I, and that's where I would have been if I'd have known this kind of an opportunity existed. I wouldn't have gone probably to the University of Arkansas and tried to swim Division I because I was pretty average swimmer as far as Division I swimming went, but on Division II or NAI level, probably could have had a little more success. And so it kind of that opportunity to really try to build something here on that level where I really felt pretty comfortable um, and really deep down inside just kind of felt like this might be the place where God wanted me. And
Just a reminder,
maybe that was right after 38 years.
if you're just joining us, we're talking with Coak Matthews, and if you have a question for him, just put it in your chat box and we'll get it to him during this discussion. So let's talk about that. You've been 38 years in one place. You mentioned you had job offers. No surprise there. You've been quite successful at Henderson. What causes you to stay in one place when those job offers come in? Because normally a job offer doesn't come in and say, hey, we'll pay you less money, or our program's worse than yours, or our facilities aren't very great. Normally those offers come in, they're attractive. How do you measure away staying versus a new opportunity and a chance to do something new?
Yeah, the first time I really started looking for another job was in 1990, I believe it was. I was still part-time here at Henderson, and as you know, they kept telling me, the administration and my boss kept saying, well, we can't put you on full-time. You don't have your master's. And it's like, well, I don't have time to get my master's because I'm doing so much coaching and recruiting and coaching the high school team, coaching, and the age group team. And, when am I going to have time to get my master's? And besides, I'm not teaching any academic courses that you need a master's degree to teach. I'm teaching life fit, and I'm teaching beginning swimming, and at the time just started teaching, water safety and lifeguarding. And it's like, what, why do I need a master's to do those things? Oh, you just do. That didn't say. You just do. And so I said, okay, well, I'm going to go start looking for another job. And so I did. It was back in Houston, where I was originally from, and had swum there and coached there at a huge club. It was out in the NASA area. And when I went and interviewed, it was at one of the astronauts' homes, and there were a couple of different astronauts on the swim team board, and it was kind of cool. And so they offered me the job. I would have had 5 pools, over 300 swimmers, 4 or 5 assistant coaches. I could have an assistant coach at each pool. It was really, a good retirement package. I mean, it was a good offer, and it was a place that I was familiar with. And
so why did you say no?
Well, I came back here and I sat down with my AD, and I told him about the offer, and the first thing he said was, well, why don't we put you on full time? And I thought, well, let's see what that looks like. And so they said they would hire me full time, and because and then it was like, do I really want to leave? I really like it here. And if I'm full time now, maybe I can afford to live here. And I met my wife here. We had been married about 5 years at the time, and still didn't have kids yet. But it, because I really enjoyed it, and I was comfortable, and with the stress level of having 300 swimmers under you, with having 5 assistant coaches, and and a parent board, having to answer to a lot of parents. That was because I've been there before, although I didn't have a bad experience before, because we had a really good parent group at the old club that I had. I'm still in touch with a lot of them. 38 years later. And a lot of the kids that swam for me 38 years ago, I'm still, because of social media, I have reconnected with a lot of these people and talked to several of them all the time. And it's really pretty cool. We even had a reunion last year.
Do you think, I'm curious how you feel about this idea, and we see it a lot, especially in universities, but we're going to keep Coke at part-time. Oh, you're leaving. Well, let's now look at your contract, as opposed to, I'm an athletic director. Somebody in my program is doing a great job, and so I want to keep them, and I'm going to incentivize them to stay, as opposed to, okay, when you threaten to leave, now we'll talk about your salary. It's an interesting dynamic in academics and sports and academics.
Yeah, it was. And I think a lot of that was the athletic director at the time did not understand swimming. Um, the athletic director who hired me did, but his hands were kind of tied. The administration didn't understand swimming. Um, on the other hand, um, the athletic director we have now is different. I mean, he's really good. I mean, I think it would be a little bit different. Um, he seems to be more of a rewarder and wanting to keep his people and nurture his people, and it's a different situation now. But every administration and AD and it's kind of been that way, as far as, well, let's get the most out of them that we can, for as little as we can, and then, hey, if they want to jump, they can jump. It's different now with the, and has been for the last 6 years or so with the new AD and some of the, I mean, leadership has kind of been changing, as far as the school administration. That's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But,
Well, you've been there 38 years. You're starting your 39th year. You've obviously seen a lot of athletes come and go. You've seen a lot of coaches, assistant coaches come and go, and athletic directors as well, as you kind of inferred. And I'm curious, in an age where coaches tend to move around quite a lot, don't tend to stay in one place for a long duration. What what is kind of the secret to your longevity? And I'm not just talking about you choosing to stay there, but also, not getting fired. And I was on a chat interview a couple weeks ago with somebody, and they were just talking about when you get hired, it's kind of the start of your firing to some extent, because at some point you're going to be let go and you're going to have to move on. Yet you haven't done that. So I'm curious, what almost is the secret to that longevity?
um, well, I think a lot of it is just, you care about your athletes. You're always trying to do the right thing where they're concerned. You care about, um, what others think about the job that you're doing, and you're always trying to perform. Because as an athlete, you're a performer, and I think as a coach, you're also a performer. And if your performance is not up to par, then yeah, I mean, you can expect, to be let go. And so I'm, hopefully, by God's grace and wisdom that I ask for every day, I ask for his wisdom every day to use, whatever knowledge that I can gain in my sport, and knowledge about individuals and how to work with them, and on a personal level and in a group setting, and implement, because the Bible says, if any man lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives generously beyond, without reproach, as long as we don't ask doubting. And so, I mean, we can't doubt, we can't waver. And so when we ask for that, we can be assured that he's going to give to us. And uh, certainly there are times when I haven't listened to him and I've made mistakes, but fortunately, those mistakes have cost me my job. Um,
Can
so
you
anyway, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask then, you don't always have, you can't always have super successful years, right? You can't always have the All-Americans just pouring out of your program. And there's highs and lows. There's lulls. Uh, when we're talking about Division II, as you kind of alluded to, you're not looking for those swimmers that are going to necessarily be going to the Olympics or the national championships. And yeah, sometimes it might happen, but it's not a regular occurrence. So when you look at recruiting, how do you determine who to recruit? Because you obviously want the best, the fastest swimmers, but also recognizing if you go for the fastest swimmers, chances are they're going to be going to Division I. So how do you find the athlete that fits Division II that is also fast and maybe faster than what most Division II swimmers are? It's that tricky paradox, isn't it?
Well, it is, but there are so many out there, and we're in today's world. There's so many recruiting platforms and so many agencies out there that are just we're just bombarded with kids, and then kids on their own. They're sending emails and prospectus in, and it's so you really kind of just start out filtering them by who's a good fit time wise, who's a good fit academically, because what's their test score, what's their GPA, because we don't want to bring them in if we feel like they're not going to be successful academically, then they become a drain on the coaching staff as well as on the team, and it's hard to try to help them. I mean, we've had plenty of kids who have come in that were academically shaky on the beginning and ended up getting degrees in 4 years and going on and having very successful careers. And so sometimes you have to look at that and say, GPA is okay, test score not. Anyway, you're right. It's a juggling act. You have to really look at those and kind of try to filter some out, but we try not to filter out a lot of kids initially. We try to, have a big pool of recruits, and then slowly but surely, they're going to have several opportunities, and so you may have a pool of 50 or 60 to start with, and then after a short period of time, all of a sudden that 50 or 60 becomes 30. Then you get another 20, and then recruiting it's a huge roller coaster, but you can tell after you've visited with a kid a couple of times if they're really interested, and you can kind of tell if their personality is going to fit in with the size of school and the community and with the team that you've already got. And my assistant coach right now, he's been with me for 3 years, and that's one of the reasons the school finally gave me an assistant coach, was to help with recruiting, because we need to get more students, as every school needs now, more enrollment. And generally speaking, the swim team was bringing in good kids academically, so they were making their grades. They were doing a good job in the water and in the classroom. And so I felt like the more kids we could get who could make it in the classroom and make it in their athletics would definitely benefit the school. And so
Now,
his name's Wally Center, and he's a very good recruiter also. And so the two of us working together and it's been a really good thing over the last 3 years with Wally.
Are you then suggesting that your team doesn't have scholarships for everybody, right?
Right.
So the university is seeing your program as an opportunity to bring in athletes, not necessarily on scholarship, which then provides the university with tuition dollars, therefore your program becomes a valuable asset to the university. Is that kind of the argument there?
Exactly. I mean, that's definitely part of it. I mean, we have some scholarship money that can really help us bring in kids, but we also are out there looking for kids who qualify for academic scholarships, who are going to do a good job in the classroom. And because we certainly are not fully funded to the NCAA maximum, so that we don't have uh, the funds that some other schools do uh, to recruit swimmers. So definitely um, and most of our sports, most sports on a small school scale are bringing in athletes that have to pay
Mm.
at least part of their tuition, room and board, if not um, 90% to all of it.
Do you have any kind of system for divvying out scholarships? How do you decide who gets scholarships or who gets partial scholarships? Do you have a system that you use?
Yeah, we have time standards and test scores and GPAs that we use, that we go into, and we say, okay, a kid that's this fast can walk on. A kid that's this fast can qualify for um, a small amount of money.
Okay.
But if they're going to qualify for a larger amount of money, then they've got to be this fast. They've basically got to be able to make a national time standard
Mm,
to get an exceptional amount of money.
mm.
So yeah, we have kind of a system that Wally and I have developed. Uh, in the past, when it was just myself, um, I didn't have any specific standards, but I would just kind of use my gut again to say, okay, this kid's really good. He's going to get a lot better. I think, and then I would look at the other schools that are recruiting him, and anyway, you um, kind of go through a lot of different scenarios, and then say, okay, well, I think this kid is worth this much money, and we would make that offer, and and so forth. Now it's a little more objective. It was
Mm.
much more subjective when I was doing it on my own. Now, uh, Wally and I have come up with more of an objective uh, platform in order to make offers.
Talk a little bit about budgets, because if we look at somewhere like the University of Arkansas, where you came from and I graduated from, the swimming and diving team has a little bit more resources than maybe a Henderson State. And so there's a challenge there, particularly for you as head coach, to balance the budget, and you're not going to get a vast amount from the university. So what strategies do you have to kind of pay for equipment, recruiting, traveling team, food, hotel, all of the things that you have to cover as a major team?
You beg. No, I mean, I've developed a lot of relationships around the community, and we offer swim times where a lot of the people in the community make donations. We have several different fundraisers that we do every year, and it's been this way ever since I've been here. That there's never enough to go around for all the sports, and all sports, on a level like we are in Division Two, or used to be NAI. You've got to raise money. That's just the nature of the beast, so to speak. So, I've developed, and plus our alumni, we have several alums who uh, give quite a bit each year. Um, but yeah, I mean, if we want certain things now, um, again, over the years, our budgets were really tight, really small, and I had to raise a lot of money, and I still have to raise and can raise a lot of money, but budgets have gotten a lot better again with our new athletic director who's been here 6 years now. I mean, budgets are so much better than they were. Of course, with COVID, everything's going to be everything's shrinking back
Mhm.
because enrollments are going to be down, et cetera, et cetera. But still, um,
What
not
are
as bad as not nearly as bad as what they were 15 years ago, 10 years ago.
You've seen a lot of things in swimming and in coaching over the years, and I'm not necessarily asking you to pinpoint specific examples, but what are some of the challenges that you've seen or experienced as a coach? Can you give maybe you can give one or two examples just to give some realities of coaching, because as you and I talked about before the stream started, sometimes there's this misconception about what coaching is. A lot of people maybe just think it's you by the pool during an event, and job's done, you go home, and that's the end of it. You and I both know that isn't true. And so if you wouldn't mind, just share a little bit about what it's really like being a coach, and what are some of the challenges.
Well, one of our biggest rules is and probably rule number one is don't be stupid. Well, as you know, 18 to 20-year-old kids can do some, and I try to preface this by saying, none of you are stupid. You wouldn't be in college. Don't be doing stupid things, And so a lot of times they don't understand, and they'll do, some of the kids will do something really stupid and really silly and really, and it puts a bad light on me and the entire program and the entire university. They think that all of their actions only represent themselves. And so, over the years, and we've had some years where, the kids have been pretty smart and they've taken care of their business and they've gone to class and not been stupid. But there's always, most years it's just dealing with kids being kids, and some of the situations that I won't go into, a couple of them over the years have been not very good. One of my former assistants gave me a sheet of paper. It's about this big, and it's got stress relief kit on it, and it's taped on the wall out on the deck, and it says, there's a circle, and underneath it, stress relief kit. It says bang head here. Bang your head. So there's a few days when I have to use that stress relief kit and bang my head against the wall, and and you're always, when you're dealing with a group of people, you have so many different personalities and so many different things that are important, different priorities, and as hard as you try to fit everybody into this mold and give them their goals and tell them, to be successful, you got to do this, this, and this, so many of them goes in this ear, out that ear, and then 20 years later, whether they graduated or not, but if they swam for you for more than 2 years, 20 years later, a lot of them come up to you and say, yeah, coach, I get it now. I get it now. And I'm sorry I put you through all that stress when I was here. I've had a few kids who have come to me and said that. But yeah, it's a lot of it's, they're not going to do what you say. And one of the biggest stresses or stressors is, as soon as you explain something to the group, no matter how big the group or small the group, as soon as you explain something and say, okay, everybody got it? Okay, good. Then you say, okay, on the top, we're all going to go at the same time. And on the top means like when you have a clock, moving and it gets to the top. On the top, everybody go. And then somebody asks you the exact question you just answered. It's like, or there's always somebody over here talking while you're talking. They're all, and they're the ones that are asking the questions. And it's like, it's just small annoyances every day that end up becoming big.
All right. So how do you as a coach deal with the stressors? Because it's a big topic right now, stress in coaching and burnout in coaches. And I think the average duration of a coach is about 3 years. You've obviously well exceeded that. How do you deal with those things where it is bang your head against the wall here? How do you cope with those situations? Do you have any strategies? Do you do anything to help de-stress?
Pray. Pray a lot. Pray every day. Pray before practice. Pray after practice. Pray. Talk to God. I mean, He's the only one who can truly give me and any of us true peace. Um, so, no matter how stressful the day becomes, um, knowing that He loves me, He has my best interest and the best interest of whoever is giving me a hard time at the time, uh, their best interest. And as I go through that time with the Lord, and then He can show me, you know, some of the things that may be important to that person, and how He can give me the patience and the peace to deal with it. That when I can take myself out of the equation and put that person's best interest at heart, um, and then eventually, I mean, we had a kid this year who every day in practice, he's the fastest kid on the team, but every day in practice gave me, I mean, we butted heads, butted heads. And then toward the end of the year, finally, we had an understanding. And if I can say this, he came to the Lord, and his total personality changed. He apologized for everything he did. Now, even though because of certain situations, not because of swimming or anything that we did, but because of certain situations with his potential career and family, and where he's from, and he's not from the States, and he's not coming back, but we left very close. When he left, we became very close, and a lot of the athletes, they saw his demeanor completely change. And and now I talk to him once or twice a week, even though I know he's not going to come back. But now we've become very close, and I talk to him, and I text him every day, um, and he's growing in other ways now personally, that I can mentor him in other ways, and not in swimming. Um, so all of that we went through all this year, now I look back and say that was all worth it. That was all worth it because of who he is now.
If I can just kind of get you to think globally, and in the people who watch this are either those who are coaches or working in sports, or those interested in becoming coaches. And I'm curious, given your experiences and longevity in one place, what advice would you have for those who are looking to get into the coaching profession, or improve as coaches, where they currently are?
Um, when the athletes get upset with something that's going on, um, like I say, on the pool deck or on the field, or get upset with their coaches, if realize that there's something deeper. That it's not, hey, I'm mad at the coach because of this. That's a symptom of something that's going on deeper. And so the best thing that I think that you can do, or that a coach can do, is to step back. Don't confront the individual, on the field or on the pool deck, or on the track, or wherever you are in the gym. Um, step back, move on to another athlete, um, and deal with something positive, and then sit down and visit and try to get to know that individual more and what's important to that individual and what their priorities are and all, which is um, instead of just trying to, which I've done many times, just try to stand my ground and say, yes, you will do this, you know, um, and then, you know, you end up butting heads, and it's not a good situation. Although the one this year and several others over the years have turned out being very good situations. Um, so, you know, you've got to realize that sometimes if a player attacks a coach verbally, um, that's a symptom. That's not really what's going on, and that's something that has to be dealt with in another place once both parties cool down. And so, um, when you can do that, which sometimes I have a hard time doing, but if you can do that, you'll eliminate stress. You'll eliminate their stressors, your stressors. You can sit down and really try to find out what's going on within that individual, and that no matter where they're from, because we've had kids from all over the world. Uh, these kids are the same, and it's just languages are different. So sometimes there is a language barrier, but usually you can get past that. And it's the old saying. It's the old saying that comes back all the time. It doesn't matter what you know. Nobody cares what you know until they know you care. So
If just to wrap up, if somebody does have a question, watching it probably in future, if what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
um, probably email. I'm constantly checking my email and try to get back to people as soon as possible.
And for those of you who might be listening to the podcast, that's matthec@hsu.edu. Well, Coach, thank you very much for taking the time to have a conversation with me and sharing a little bit of your expertise and wisdom, and really do appreciate it.
Tim, it's good to talk to you again. And you remember the race we did together? I still have the picture of you on the podium. Tim and I Tim and I trained together for a little while. Did the sprint triathlon out here at Lake DeGray, and it was a very short training period. It wasn't very long that we were able to train, but you got ready in a hurry and had a good race. That was a lot of fun.
It was, well, fun is a loose term for a triathlon. It was pretty brutal on my part. I suffered a lot. You were way ahead of me, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. Well, thanks again for joining me. And of course, thank you everybody for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel or Facebook or wherever you watch these videos. And of course, don't forget we have a podcast of these. So if you like going for a training for a triathlon, need something to listen to and learn from, make sure you find the podcast as well. But on behalf of myself, Tim Baghurst, and of course, Coach Coak Matthews, thank you so much for watching.